Hello, everybody. Brad Johnson here, and welcome to the next broadcast, the webcast of New Earth Teachings. So I'm very happy to be with all of you today. It's just been a really wonderful, exciting day. I'm just starting to get this new vision of mine together, as I was talking about yesterday on Facebook Live. For those of you who are watching this on Facebook now, this will be on YouTube later. But again, the private sessions are going to be retiring here around the next 3 or 4 months in that way. So in the meantime, I'm creating a brand new vision, a whole new website called New Earth Academy. And really where I want to take this is being able to take it to the level that the Gaia Network basically have established in that way. And the goal is just getting some good supporting subscribers. And we're also doing something within this new website idea, this new website vision, that nobody has done before, and that's really creating a Netflix-like website where there is online education, there's online classrooms, there's online webinars, interactive webinars, there's going to be audio blogs, audio broadcasts as well. There's going to be quite a few different teachers that are going to come in and share their craft, and it's going to be about a grassroots community. It is the grassroots community spiritual education website. That's really what the New Earth Academy is going to be all about. So this is something that has arrived to me just recently after I had a very powerful experience a couple of days ago, and I'll be talking about that tonight. So I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight on the webcast, and thank to everybody on YouTube who will be listening to or watching this later. So again, it is all about ego death and personal transformation. So again, I've decided to just retire the private sessions, not yet. The private sessions are going to carry on for about another 3 or 4 months. After that, they are going to come to an end, and a lot of my focus is going to move forward into the New Earth Academy. And New Earth Teachings and New Earth Academy will just basically become one entity. So there will be 2 websites, 2 and 2. There will be 2 websites taking place. So the New Earth Teachings will be promoting a lot of the pay-per-views that's going to be taking place, and I am looking to get some pretty big names to get on some pay-per-view webinars and just be very interactive with people. And of course, there's going to be several different classrooms. So I will be starting off with a couple of classrooms per week. And as we start getting more teachers, there will be teachers available who will also be offering certain classrooms as well too per week. And so you'll basically have a calendar. And there will be 2 types of subscribers. One will be the basic video subscribers, who will just be able to tune in to a lot of the videos and past webinars that are going to be included on the network. And then secondly, there's going to be student subscribers. And these guys are not only able to access the video network, they're able to access all of the classrooms, and they'll even get discounts on some premier webinars that we're going to have as well too. So it's going to be really, really exciting. It's going to be a really big community. As this continues to grow, we'll be working on getting some really great equipment coming together, a lot more bandwidth to handle the traffic. And again, it's looking to be a grassroots spiritual education based Netflix. So that is my new direction right now. So I'm going to be working for a few months getting that together. I'm also just finishing up the channeling development course as well too. That will also be in association with the New Earth Academy. I've already started to talk to a few people. I basically just put something out today on Facebook that was just looking for a graphic designer, looking for a video editor, looking for a behind-the-scenes guy who can basically help out with behind-the-scenes with the program that I'm going to be using, and someone who would like to be a master of ceremonies as well too. And I've already got responses. So this thing is already bringing about some really good synergy and synchronicity. But again, I may be looking for 1 or 2 MCs. So if there's another person out there who would like to quote-unquote audition themselves, I would just need to see like a YouTube video of yourself doing like an MC hosting in that way, and I will be looking for that. And I will be looking for teachers as well too. But basically, to be a teacher, You have to have some type of following, right? It's just good to make sure that if you have like an established YouTube channel, maybe about 500 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers, right, and you're putting your work out there, that's great, because that's showing me that you're quite serious in what you're doing and you have a lot to offer with your own teachings as well too. So you can contact me about that with presenters. And of course, I have some of my good old friends who are excellent presenters that I'm looking to bring in to New Earth Academy as well too. But anyways, that's the new vision. And this is all part and parcel of bringing in this, we can call it ego death. Some people don't prefer that term because it's almost like looking at a death of an illusion, and that's true. But I could also refer to it as an unveiling. And so basically that's what our discussion will be on tonight, is ego death and personal transformation. And so I'm just going to grab something here. There we go. Okay. So it was about 3 or 4 nights ago, and I decided to do an astrology chart for myself, and I wanted to do it from scratch. I was getting very, very fascinated with astrology. There was a lot of synchronicities that were bringing me into learning more about astrology as well too, and I also have a simple astrology book here that I was looking into, and so this is kind of just a brief view. I'm not sure if you guys can see it okay. Brief view of my chart, brief view of information there as well too. And when I did this, it was about 4 nights ago, I think, somewhere around there, between 3 or 4 nights ago. When I did this, I started looking at these personality traits that I held, and some of it was, disciplined, reserved, over-responsible, workaholic, enlightenment is a path, friendly but kind of a maverick, rebellious, psychic, intuitive, moody, restless, work to regulate energy, open-hearted, sympathetic, forgiving and understanding, food struggle, which has certainly been true for me, analytical, worried, industrious, love solitude, etc. And that's great. But I was looking at this and saying, I feel like I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like I'm looking at a role-playing character that I just created out of thin air here. And this is what I really just had an aha moment and said, I don't think I'm going to be that character anymore. I'm not going to be playing the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game of life, of Earth anymore. And really what this entailed was me just realizing who this character Brad Johnson was. And he's just a character, right? Every person here that's watching this, we're basically just fueling a character. We're creating this veil that represents all these personalities: enlightenment, competitive, irritable, rebellious, psychic, intuitive, forgiving and understanding, food struggle, fear losing control, following routines, etc. These are all just... I played those kind of role-playing games as a kid, and I just remember this, like, I'm like a mage or something like that, right? I'm just ready to throw a fire sign at somebody, right, a fireball. And I just looked at this and said, it's time for this character that I am supposed to portray through the aspect of astrology. It's time for him to die, but it's time for him to peacefully die. And so a lot of the old habits that I have had in the past few days have basically started to drift away, and I'm no longer identifying myself as this character. And there have been a lot of other people, I know who have created some videos, and they talk about ego death, or again, personal unveiling, whichever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Words are illusion anyways too, right? But whether it's ego death or personal unveiling or opening yourself up into a grander state of expansion, nonetheless, it's the idea that the layer of ego has basically been transmuted. It's been transformed. It's been completely amalgamated into a greater aspect of yourself. And that's really what I feel I have been going through here in the past few days. And it was just yesterday that I actually got this concept for New Earth Academy, because I was just feeling very, very heavy. I just woke up yesterday morning and I felt like my body weighed a metric ton, right? It just felt like it was really, really hard to get out of bed. It was just really hard to get the day started. I just felt like I was carrying all this weight around me, and I just knew intuitively, I think it's time I just went and got a psychic reading here locally. And so I went ahead and I went to a store downtown here in Victoria, and I just went and saw a psychic reader, and she just blew me away with confirmation of everything that I was feeling. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just giving you confirmations. I'm just giving you confirmations." I said, "Yeah, that's it." She says, "Well, Brad, it feels like you've been really bored this past little while." And I said, "Yeah, it has nothing to do with the clients I've had. I've had some really amazing clients. I've had some really amazing discussions. I've enjoyed every single session I've done. But I just felt bored because with my type of energy, because I'm such a high mental energy type guy, I have this reservoir. I have this enormous pool of energy, bringing in Adronis and sharing all this information. And it's when I'm doing private sessions, it's going towards one person, right? And that's great because, I've really enjoyed those sessions and I had a lot of learning come out from it. There's been people who have come to me who have taught me a lot about myself as well. And they've said how much they've enjoyed the sessions, and I've enjoyed them as well too. But when it comes down to it, when I look at the times when I've done seminars, when I've done group work, when I've worked together with many people, I was at the height of my energy, right? It was amazing. I was working with dozens of people, hundreds of people, whoever it may be, whether it's online or whether it was local. I had a lot of fun because I was working together with so many different people's perspective. And that's the new direction. So the new direction is to work more in groups, is to talk to more people who are in one room, be it virtual or be it physical. And this is really what this ego death unveiling has done for me. It's shown me that I'm not following these old traits that have been written down on astrology because they are indeed correct. But I just say, no, it's just I'm not going to play the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing character anymore. I'm letting this Brad Johnson character die. And now it's just going to be a new presence. It's going to be the idea where I'm doing this because this is my natural energy to do this. I'm going to create New Earth Academy because this is the direction of my new energy to do this. Not because I need to do this, not because I want to do this, but it's a part of me. It's like just taking care of an extension of your body. You're bringing it to life as it's a part of you. And so we will look into some particular type of aspect. Some situation will come to us and will say, what is it that you believe you are? What character do you feel you are attempting to portray each and every single day? I need to work my butt off. I need to pay the bills. I need to pre-plan. I need to do this. I need to do that. And we run ourselves into a muck. And this is, again, something that's been happening to me for the past few months. And I felt like I was withering away. Again, not because of the people I was working with. It has nothing to do with them. It was me, right? I'm talking about exactly what was happening to me and how I was deciding to govern my energy because I was following so much of the personality protocol that had been shared through this astrology reading, looking into my own personal archetypes and all that. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to govern my own life based upon this character, beyond this particular actor who comes upon a stage and wears a certain mask and is supposed to be this particular person. And it's now just taking that mask off and just being the true self. And now moving into the true self, you have new direction, right? And it's not based upon a passion. It's not even based upon the idea of a need or a want. But again, it's just a natural walking in that way. You're just naturally moving into that direction, naturally walking that path, putting your footprints in the sand. And that's what I've felt doing this. Now when I started putting this together, because I just started doing the New Earth Academy last night, and everything just comes together, like no problem. I just put this intention out. Oh, no problem. Here's all these people. I just start putting, I need a good platform to put this together. Oh, no problem. Poof, here's a good platform for you, right? Like everything is just coming together with great simplicity, with no effort at all. And that is my own higher self, my own true being saying, this is the direction to move to, right? So this is, again, what we're looking into ourselves and saying that, am I struggling by still being this particular personality archetype, by being this character, by being this John Smith, by being this Jenny Green, whoever it is, and looking into these characteristics? And it wasn't until I just started creating my own astrology chart that, bam, it was a huge unveiling. It was a huge, quote-unquote, ego death, right? And I just started looking at things much more differently. I feel much more present than I ever have before, because sometimes it took me a lot just to stay present, stay in the moment, because my mind was always looking towards the horizon. It was always looking, well, what's the future hold? What's next? What's next? What's next? And again, that's personality archetype with who I am. That's the Brad Johnson character. He had a problem staying in a state of presence, and he basically wanted to drift off and say, well, what's next on the list? What's next for me? What am I going to do next? And the new voice that has come in saying, stop thinking about next. It's not about the horizon. If you constantly start looking towards the horizon and try to control everything, you're missing all of the opportunities that the present moment is bringing you. So stop worrying about the horizon. Be present. Presence. And yesterday, when I was going out for a walk and doing my Qigong, it felt like I was on psilocybin. That's how grand it was, just being this new embodiment of the true beingness. And everything just felt vivid. I could feel a deeper connection to nature. I could feel a deeper connection to people. I could actually start looking at people in the eye. And I didn't do that. That was one of the funny things as this whole personality archetype. I was kind of like this, and walking down the street and just keeping my energy in reserve, thinking that, if I meet somebody, maybe I'll get my energy contaminated or something like that. I let all of that go. And now I'm just looking at people in the eye, smiling at them, and I make eye contact with them. And again, it's a beautiful thing. Even when that person may be in a bit of a moody mood in that way, it doesn't matter, because it's just all people living their life. I would even just look at people as well too and say, oh man, these guys need to look into their spiritual self a lot more, right? Rather than constantly throwing it all about this melodrama, etc. Now I look at people and I see them going through their lives in their own way, and so it's all good. That's how they've chosen to live their life. I'm not here to change them. I'm just walking around looking at extensions of myself and seeing all these elements of who I am based upon these people. So this entire huge shift has taken place, and now you're just seeing a grander state of yourself, and this is the personal transformation, right? So this is where, again, I would suggest if people have some type of interest in astrology, and maybe if you're new to it, and you can go on the computer, you type your information in, you click send, and boom, you get this instant chart. I used to do that as well too, but it didn't have that much of an impact on me. It's when I actually drew out the zodiac wheel. It's when I started working together with the planets, when I started working together with the houses, and I put everything together, and I started interpreting it myself. That's what gave me such a grander look at the Brad Johnson character. That's what gave me such a look in this illusion that I have created, and basically attempting to archetype myself based upon this illusionary Dungeons and Dragons on Earth role-playing character named Brad Johnson, right? And so I basically just put that personality, I put that character to rest. He's in a grave, rest in peace, right? And now there's just this person, whether you call me a new Brad or whether you call me that guy or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Names to me really don't even matter anymore. It's just at the point where I know where my direction is. I feel like I'm just a vibratory soul compass, and I'm just pointing myself in a certain direction and say, okay, it's time to walk this area. Not because I want to, not because I need to, but because it's my natural path, right? And you just start creating the footprints in the sand, and you just start walking. And now there's no resistance behind anything. And now you're just feeling this liberation and this beauty. You're so present and you feel connected to nature, and you're looking at people down the street, and regardless if they're having a wonderful day or an awful day, it doesn't matter. It's all just observation. It's all just witnessing them in that way. You're just being with your beingness. You are connecting with your interconnectedness. And this is what I have discovered just looking at this aspect of astrology that I started to work with in that way. So this is the really, really, really big revolution that's happened to me, and has really just transformed me 180 degrees. And again, like I said, just about a day later, I started just looking into these private sessions that I've been doing, and I just said, this just doesn't fulfill me anymore. There's nothing here that's really fulfilling my energy as it exists right now. And again, the people have been amazing. I've met all kinds of wonderful people. And that's what was so exciting about the sessions, was meeting new people and connecting with Adronis and getting all this information coming together. But it's like there's so much good information that Adronis has shared, and information that's coming through my higher mind that's coming out, and it's only reserved for those few select people. And like, no, right? It's great that they get that information and they walk with it around, they run with it, and they do it any way they wish to use it. But it's also something that I know is going to be valuable for many others. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to dedicate my time with. Not really wanting, but just naturally vibrating into that path, naturally aligning to getting people together, teaching classrooms just like you're going to school, but very exciting, very fun classrooms, and being able to learn all of this, sitting down with Adronis for 2 hours and asking him questions. I'm going to be creating mentoring. I'm going to be creating apprenticeships with people as well too, through channeling, through looking into self-awareness and self-realization, creating this enormous school, this big academy. And this is going to be my life. This is going to be my full-time commitment to do this. And with enough support that comes together abundantly, then I will just continue to broaden this, just like a growing garden, right? You have to just plant the seeds at first. It's going to be slow, but then over time you're going to see everything starting to sprout. And this is again a people-powered grassroots idea with New Earth Academy. So like I said, it's about 3 or 4 months until I wrap up the sessions altogether. I still have about another week or so worth of sessions that I'm doing right now, and I will be available for sessions probably around until about April or March. See, I'm even getting the months wrong. The old Brad's dead, so he doesn't remember the months. Somewhere around April or May, relating to my sessions. So around that time, between April and May, I will be retiring the private sessions. I will be retiring the spiral Akashic viewings. I will be retiring the light circuitry attunements and the Reiki attunements. All of that is going to be retired. But the light circuitry attunement is going to be taught in a classroom environment. Spiral Akashic viewing is going to be taught in a classroom environment. More advanced stuff with channeling is going to be available on the channeling development course, and there will be some tidbits here and there with webinars. But of course, the classroom will also focus on channeling as well too, and all kinds of things. We're basically just looking into everything that you can possibly imagine, from raw food diets to veganism to building tiny houses to living out in nature to UFOs, extraterrestrial disclosure, to life on other planets, to ancient Earth history. You name it, right? We're just into astrology. Everything is going to be covered. And if it's not done by me, it'll be done by another presenter, right? So we're going to have quite a lot of presenters available. This is also just giving some good financial opportunity for people who are just wanting to get themselves out there, who have some really great information. They'll be able to be a part of these presentations and share themselves with a large audience and getting their information out there as well too. And again, the intention of the New Earth Academy is really to stay grassroots, maybe kind of like high elevated grassroots, but just being able to get that information out from people who have all of these incredible talents, all of these incredible skills. So if you're watching this right now and, again, you have a decent following with you, you're very serious about your information, you want to make this a part of your life, then you can contact me and say, hey, Brad, this is what I got experience with. Here's my YouTube channel, or here's my Vimeo, or whatever it may be, and here's some stuff I've talked about. And if you need a presenter, here I am, right? Then I'll look at your email, I'll look at your videos, and I'll say, okay, this could be a good fit for us, right? So that's really where I want to go with New Earth Academy, is it's time for us to work together, to come together in that way, and sharing our gifts, sharing our talents with everybody. And I just have a very good feeling that New Earth Academy is going to go very, very far. And it's kind of like how the Gaia network is going in that way. There are certain things about Gaia that are lacking, and basically I want to take where that lack is and put it towards with the New Earth Academy. And what that is live interaction, is being able to ask the presenters questions, is being able to be there live, sometimes whether it's in person, which I will be doing some in-person events, or it will be virtual, but nonetheless you'll be able to interact with the presenter. and he or she will be there for you to ask questions. We're going to make sure we devote a lot of time for Q&A as well too. So it's going to be fun, guys. We're going to have a blast creating this whole new project. But this has really just shown that the veil has dropped with me, and just, we're 9 days into 2018, the year of renewal, and I've completely renewed myself, right? There's always going to be much more renewal coming in. A lot of people I've talked to are renewing themselves. They're seeing themselves just dropping out old veils. They're dropping the old characters. They're dropping the old dramas and the old routines. And again, they're just walking the natural path. They're putting their footprints in the sand, and they're starting to make this imprint of natural alignment happen. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on to Q&A now. So if you guys do have any questions in the chat here, feel free to ask, just in regards maybe to what I've talked about tonight or anything else that's on your mind. I'm just going to scroll up to the top and go down and see if there's any questions coming in. Yeah, love the term ego death. Some people don't. Some people don't like that term. There's even some gurus in that sense that do not like the term ego death. Oh, there's no ego death because nothing exists. So, well, then neither does your voice, neither does your words. Right? It's just simply the idea of a convenience pertaining to a term. So like I said, if people don't like the aspect of ego death because it's too illusionary, you've never really experienced an ego, and that's true, you haven't. But again, that just represents a state of convenience, and you can throw it away. You can call it the idea of the dropping of the veil. You can call it the aspect of a realization, a self-realization that comes through. Whatever you want to term it is fine. We don't have to get too much into the word porn here, right? So we'll scroll down a little bit more. Debbie says, hi, Brad. I say, hi, Debbie. All right. Eric Hathor says, I too am one of the individuals that have made a leap with the ego death this January. It was huge. Excellent. Well, there you go. Like I said, this is the year of renewal, right? And it's not just us. We're going to see it collectively unfolding as well, too. We're going to see a lot of renewed aspects happening collectively. A lot more people going more into, the ecology of transformation that's bringing us more into nature, right? So looking more into eco-friendly businesses that will come together, people who are looking to restore the environment, people who are working together with children, women working together, empowering themselves. I mean, the list will go on and on and on, right? Even new technologies could even debut this year. There's a lot of promise for a great amount of renewal as well, too. And that's, again, the theme of this year, I feel. Transcending the astrological archetype. Yes, absolutely. And this is, again, such a wonderful thing. I'm very thankful to astrology, just being able to look into its art form and seeing what it has presented to me as it relates to this personality character, this Dungeons and Dragons role-playing character. And just being able to look at that and just having a realization and saying, you know what if I'm just going to let this character die and not worry so much about what these traits are supposed to say. And because as long as we're continuing to empower these traits, we're just going into a loop-to-loop. We're just continuing a cycle. It's a hamster running on a wheel because we're still looking at these personality types. And some people just look at it and laugh it off and say, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, that's fine. I know I'm like this, but I'm not going to change. You can't teach old dog new tricks, and so I'm going to leave it behind. Okay, that's your choice. But just with me looking at this, I see it, and I'm saying, no, I'm not going to be constantly going through this karmic wheel and saying that I need to be strong-willed, intuitive, what else is there? Philosophical, challenging to resolve issues, personal freedom, love of travel, naive, obsessed with balance, beauty, great power from sharing, equality ruled. Well, that's true. Moody, restless, want to regulate energy, right? So all of this stuff, there's some positive stuff and there's some challenging stuff, but it really just doesn't matter. It's just being able to let all of that go and surrender to the moment of the infinite and just let that play together with you. And there's still some residual traits that I get from the old Brad Johnson character at times where there's, again, this attempt to pre-plan, and I'm just connecting to my higher self, true self, and it's saying this ego wants to plan stuff so much. It wants to pre-plan. It wants to make sure you're safe. It wants to build all these bridges that don't need to be built. Strip it all down, right? and just be present and just be here and just be now and enjoy everything. Because if you keep looking towards the horizon, when are you ever going to reach a moment of satisfaction rather than saying, what's next, what's next, what's next? When are you ever just going to be here and be present and just enjoy the moment rather than feeling you have to always constantly look about what's down the road and what's going to happen next? And then that happens, then again it goes back to what's next. Then that happens and it goes on to what's next. That's not living, right? That's, again, just attempting to create this grid of control. And that's something I was doing, right? And I was looking into the ability to just be present, right? Because I would have my present moments, usually when doing meditation. But when I'm not in meditation, when I was just going out to the world, it was always just, what's next, what's next, what's next, right? It's just this pure, raw, powerful ambition. And again, that is a type of control. I've had a very huge controlling ego, right? I've also attempted to maintain an image, right? And that's something else that I've looked to transcend as well too, is basically saying that I shouldn't talk about this stuff too much, because what if it hurts this image? What if people think less of me if I start revealing this information about, how I'm thinking, or how I'm always looking at something next or on the horizon, or whatever else it may be? And it says that's not going to imprison you. That's going to liberate you. That's going to cause a lot more people to say, oh my God, Brad's actually human. He isn't actually from Sirius, right? He is actually a human being. He does make mistakes. He does trip and fall over his own feet. He does keep looking towards the horizon, and now he's starting to come back in the present, right? So I mean, this is I'm sure true for a lot of us, depending upon the character traits that we carry. And again, astrology is just the blueprint of our inner selves, looking into that and seeing this RPG character. Okay, so again, scroll down the list here a bit more. Just a lot of greetings, guys. I really appreciate it. I've heard that ego death can last for decades. Can the ego dream last more than one lifetime? Can it last for multiple lifetimes? Well, it basically depends upon the person. Ego death can certainly last, thousands of lifetimes. It really just depends upon the person, right? If they are just so committed to the physical realm, if they feel that this is the material realm, this is physicality, this is solidity, there's nothing else, then that person is going to be living this cycle over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It really depends upon a person. We can't really generically say, oh, well, you basically just experience this one lifetime and then that's it. No, I mean, it depends upon the person. If you have a person who, quote unquote, may have been very, very greedy and used people and was corrupt to the bone and basically steal money out of people's bank accounts and blow it on drugs, who knows what, right? And living in these big mansions and just constantly trying to manipulate people around him or her, then basically the time comes where that person passes on, transcends and transitions, and they decide to come back to Earth again. This is looking probably back in the earlier times, because now Earth is a lot more picky with the type of beings that are incarnating here. But basically in that time past then, they incarnate again, and now they're being impoverished, and now they're feeling exactly what it is like to be used and to be abused and to be manipulated and to basically be at the mercy of these greedy type shadow aspects of themselves. And they wonder, why is this happening? What's going on? So, well, this is basically what happens, is because there's one lifetime where you were very much like the people that are using and abusing you. And so you came back into this lifetime to basically attempt to serve innocence. Whenever you create a harm of innocence, you come back again as a redemption, right? You're attempting to redeem yourself altogether. You're reconciling those differences. And some people can do it very, very well. They open themselves up to spirit. They realize exactly what they've been putting out there, and they take those responsibilities and they run with it, right? They now start helping people. They start cleaning themselves up. They start looking into the depths of their own personal empowerment, and they start working together with people, and things transform. Or they basically wallow in that form of misery. They feel that the emotions are stronger than them, their very creations are dominating them, and they basically feel less than dirt. They hit rock bottom, and they can't recover from that. And that's just part of the person, right? That we cannot control what that aspect of karma has put upon ourselves. We're not attempting to fight karma with karma. All we can do is accept that this is taking place, and listening to the inner voice, coming into that point of realization, coming into the point of shattering, right? And shattering can be a quote-unquote ego death as well too. It can be a dropping of a veil. And you shatter yourself and you look at the importance of every single piece, and now you're assembling all the pieces back together, and you realize, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. I can feel this happening in other lifetimes, how I used people, how I hurt them, how I took their money, corrupt to the bone. I feel all this now. And that's something that shadow has been teaching me. You know, shadow is the greatest teacher we could ever ask for. It's showing us everything that we are not. And the more that we can start to live through that shadow and understand what we're not attaching to its drama, but we're listening to its lessons. We're letting its lessons share itself with us. And now we're growing and expanding and doing such amazing things with our life. And now that once greedy, corrupt person has now really started to transform themselves into a sage, into a mystic, into a very empowered being, because they listened to their shadow, right? And that took one lifetime, right? So that's just an example. Some people it can take many, many times, because again, there's an addiction. This whole physical reality is a drug, right? And people get really, really addicted to it. It's the addiction of physical reality. It's the addiction to flesh. It's the addiction to sex. It's the addiction to work. It's addiction to money. It's addiction to lust, whatever it may be, right? It's all of that lust that creates this allure to physical reality. And it's when we actually start to let go of physical reality. We let go of time. We let go of moving out of the moment and being constantly distracted. We come into our center, right? And this is what I've learned a lot from nature. Just being out in nature and connecting with it, it's just pure peace. And you move past those busy populous areas, and you come into nature, and it's like just you're the grandmother that's just hugging you and nurturing you and saying, yes, be with me, right? Come back into nature's womb. And you feel just so loved and so appreciated by nature, and you don't have to do anything for nature to love you. You're just there. You're just present. You feel the trees. You feel the grass. You lay down on the soft soil, and you just feel this bliss. Nature says, well, go get me a beer, and I'll love you some more, right? There's none of that, right? It's just going into this sweet surrender and just feeling this womb connection back with the Divine Mother. And it's absolutely beautiful. And that's the whole idea, is that Adronis has talked about this as well too, is that when you basically encounter a person who feels like they are the most negative person on the planet, let's look at Donald Trump, right? This guy is not an angel by any means, but you look at them and you basically have nothing within your heart that represents contempt, right? You don't care about the dramas that they are going through in life. That's not important. It does not create a reason to love a person, because if they are filled with drama or they are lack of drama, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. You can't change another person, right? And this is what I'm realizing a lot more, because Adronis has said this to me over and over and over again, and I've had that very big ego-controlling mind, right? And saying, well, what if I just kind of did this? Not really trying to change them, but just get an idea to look at this person like, Brad, stop, right? And just love that person for who they are. Everything that exists as a hologram beyond this conscious self is perfection. It's just telling you that when you meet these people down the street, maybe they're yelling at you for no reason, maybe they're giving you a dirty look, it has nothing to do with them. It's the idea about how you're still feeling about yourself. There's still something about yourself that's timid. There's still something about yourself that's bashful. There's still something about yourself that's insecure. And these people keep coming in. When you walk down a street and a person's giving you a dirty look and you're just, give them a nod, a smile, that's it. You're no longer going to be attracting people like that anymore, right? Because now you're just realizing that even if this person, treats me like total garbage, I will still have that beautiful light within myself to love them regardless of what they do, right? And, it goes back into that ancient saying, forgive them for they know not what they do. But that's not in the idea of a bailout. That's just looking into the idea of saying that if you decide that there are any harsh feelings of them, look into the path of forgiveness. The forgiveness is the greatest strength that you can ask for. And a lot of people think that forgiveness is just a joke. And, I'm not going to forgive this person because you have no idea what they did to me. I don't need to know what they did to you, right? I've heard all the stories about how people have been abandoned by their families, how they've been put up for adoption, how they've been abducted by ETs, they've seen themselves float out of a wall, they've met some feline races, some feline ETs. Feline ET comes in with a big syringe and has their semen and backup, right? And saying, this is just in case your world explodes. This is just in case all of humanity dies, right? And, this happens, right? There's people I've talked to that have been on board ships who have basically come into different conduits, different avatars, different bodies, and there's artificial chakra centers, right? So they're basically almost like they're just drawn or they're etched onto the body, and they're just artificial chakras. And they come into these host bodies and they start walking around their ship, and they're kind of woozy. They don't really know how to use this body. It's kind of like the movie Avatar, right? Moving from a human body into the giant cat, right? Same thing, but again, it's a bit of a differentiation as you can actually draw out the chakra centers and you can put programs into them, and you can actually start walking physically through this body and acting as this different type of avatar. So again, I've heard a lot of incredible information from a lot of people. They've told me all about their visitations on other planets, on other worlds, other dimensions, being on board ships, you name it. I mean, I've heard it. I wouldn't say all of it, but I've heard a lot of it, right? But the whole idea here is that nonetheless, regardless of how a person feels like they are towards you, you're in some way on a subconscious level inviting that person to be a jackass, to be a jerk, to be an asshole, right? Because there's still something about you that says that you are those things. And I get people saying, oh, Brad, come on, I'm not thinking that I'm an asshole and all that stuff. So why would you be defensive about this if you don't think so? Oh, well, I didn't notice that, right? So this is the whole idea, is we don't think that we can be an asshole to somebody, right? But there's that aspect of ourselves that buries it, that knows that through, muttering, or even without having to use the voice, we'll judge a person walking down the street, right? That thought comes out. That becomes part of the thought matrix. And now we have aligned to an aspect of judgment and saying, oh, look at that person with the ghetto blaster in their ears and they're playing their music. Oh, they want to make themselves deaf? What an idiot, right? And we don't say that out loud, but that thought is there. And that creates thought fusion, right? That's in the thought matrix. That's a portal now, right? And so now we've created that aspect, and now all of a sudden we'll have a person, judging us. Oh, well, look at those stupid shoes. You look like an idiot, right? Well, what the hell? Well, you judged that one person, so again, it's rebound, right? It's equivalent exchange. So this is again how it works, right? If we just start to make peace with everything that we experience, that we see, and make peace especially from within ourselves, you don't attract such a person into your life anymore, right? That becomes inert. Now you're starting to move into a true love just for everything. And you're just doing things, and things don't matter anymore. Everything just becomes nature. It no longer becomes purpose, right? And playing with these personality archetypes found in astrology, it's all about purpose. It's purpose this and purpose that. And your purpose to seek enlightenment, and your purpose to seek balance, and your purpose to be equal, and all this stuff, right? It's little boxes here and there and here and there and here and there, and they're all just divided among each other. And basically when you step outside those boxes, then you're in chaos, right? It's about bringing the natural order and chaos together, the yin and yang together in equilibrium, right? That's the whole key here. Okay, moving on. Any other suggestions in addition to getting chart done to move more quickly through this process by chance? Feels so close yet. Well, from what I can sense is that it's just paying close attention and really just listening to what these charts have to say about you, and really looking into their brevity, because it is very, very brief, relating to a lot of these interpretations, and saying, okay, I can admit I'm something like that. Do I want to stay like that? Do I want to stay as that type of person? Well, no, of course not. I don't want to feel greedy. I don't want to feel like I'm a control freak. I don't want to feel like I'm overclustered with thoughts. So what do I do, right? It's not about snapping your fingers and all of a sudden, poof, this happens, right? For me to look at this and realize that, I know I had to go within myself. I had to go within and I had to look at these aspects and saying, yeah, it's true. I do have a lot of these traits. And that's the Brad Johnson character. And so I've decided I'm not going to be that character anymore, right? I'm going to move into a new alignment. I'm going to refine my daily routine. I'm going to refine everything that represents how I think, how I feel, how I walk, how I present myself. All of that's going to change. And so that's what I've been doing, right? But you're still going to get residuals along the way. Still, I get residuals about, again, going back into the horizon, right? Looking into the horizon and not being here. That does happen. But I get this voice that says very, very loudly, presence, 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 right? And I snap back into the present moment. And then basically the sly ego that I got, right, just wants to kind of maneuver its way back in. Oh, come on, it's just a harmless thought. It's just a harmless thought, right? And then it wants to come in and say, hey, come on, come back to the horizon. Come back to the horizon. Because that's what I've trained the ego to do, is I'll go into presence and it'll be nice and quiet. Like, then it'll just explode like fireworks, right? And so you want to catch yourself doing that. And you realize, ego, no, we're not doing that anymore. And I talk to my ego just like it's a person, like it's a best friend that's just walking alongside me. Oh, Brad, what about this? What about tomorrow if you're going to do this? Or next week you're going to do this? What about your move? You're moving to Salt Spring, you're going to do this. Shh. Right? And then there's just quiet. Say, let's be here. Let's be now. Let's be present. And then it's just quiet, right? You're just basically saying, no, let's be here. Let's be present. You're re-educating the ego. You're working together with it as an ally. And then you work with it to such a point that it becomes integral with yourself. And now you just become one with that aspect of ego and with that true self. And now you can't even really differentiate between the two because there's been that full integration, right? But you have to train your ego. You have to retrain it. You have to reprogram it and saying that I'm not going to be this characteristic anymore. I've decided that's not who I am. This character is going to die, but they're going to die very peacefully. They're going to transition very, very peacefully. I'm going to send love to all the stuff that I've been, because even all this stuff here, positive and negative aspects, etc., just bringing peace to it all. Just like looking at that person down the street and saying, let them live their life. Let them be in their world because it's serving them and it's not impacting me, other than the idea that I recognize that person as myself, right? That's the big caveat here once we start to look into this, right? So again, there's no magic formula to snapping your fingers and say, okay, I'm all better, I'm all done, right? Because the people that I've seen who have done that, I snap my fingers and everything's done, everything's gone. No, it's not, right? You've basically just created a surface and thinking that it is all gone, but it's not, right? It's like taking a brand new surface and just putting it around yourself and just waxing it and saying, here I am, guys, here's the new me, right? Days passed, all this stuff, all these paintballs come flying and hitting this clean surface. It is not about this, right? It's not about the snap of the finger and thinking you're all better, because that is an ego, easy button mentality. Press the easy button, easy button, easy button, right? Even though I know I'm not looking to be this character anymore as Brad Johnson, I still have some residual work to do, right? And I'm still working to be present, and I'm working into this new development, into this new idea. But I'm not 100% free from this whole aspect of the astrological information. That's going to take time, but I just know that I'm moving to transcend beyond that aspect, and I'm letting that character die, and I'm honoring that person's death, and I'm seeing them transition in peace so that a new layer comes together, right? Everything's in layers. It's not a quantum leap, right? It's not like being Q off Star Trek and snapping your fingers and whoosh, something's here, right? When it comes to the idea of your emotions, when it comes to your mentality, your physical body, give it time. Let it play with the layers. Come with layers and see how all these other layers are stripping away and new layers are coming together in its place. But it is a transitional process. Stop looking for the easy out. There is nothing like that, right? It's all about you working with yourself and having patience and playing with these energies that are your true divine calling, right? That's the important key here. Norman says, it is my understanding that we need a little ego in order to have an individual experience. As per Bashar, he says even his people have just enough ego to be in body and have experience of the self. Absolutely right. Adronis himself has a little bit of an ego as well too, right? Not something in saying that he's throwing stuff around, but he's basically looking into some type of middle bridge, middle ground, a bridge that he has created that basically represents some type of ego as it pertains to continuity, as it relates to working with the language, as it relates to interacting with people, there requires a bit of that egoism, right? Ego is not a quote-unquote bad thing, right? It's something that we are naturally aligning to. It's not about obliterating it. It's not about blowing it up, destroying it in that way. It's just about deflating it, right? Just bringing it back into its original design, because it's a grounding device. It's an aspect of memory, right? But when you start working together with a lot of these ancient masters, they basically come to the point where they will be egoless. It is possible to be egoless, right? But basically through our journey of where we're going right now, that ego is required, because it's all about integration. Now, basically, when you're looking into these masters, first thing, they won't even talk to you. They'll be completely silent. They won't even say a word. But they're grateful for your presence, right? And they're just, they feel like they're in stasis, right? They enter a stasis state of being, and they're just seeing themselves as a universe entirely. They don't relate in any particular form, condition to this reality or to this body. That's what ego does, right? Ego relates you to this body. It relates you to this reality. It relates you to this environment. That's what ego's purpose is. You do have the ability to transcend the ego completely. People like Bashar, in that sense, still show some type of physicality. Even Adronis, to where he is, has some little bit of physicality there. And whenever there's just that little shred of physicality, there's that little shred of ego. But you have the ability to not even relate to reality at all, right? And that takes a lot of practice. That takes a lot of mental discipline, right? Even all of these ETs, whenever we look at the word extraterrestrial, we think we're seeing a super duper ultra enlightened being. And that's not always the case, right? When we're looking at beings in the 4th density, the 5th density, and the 6th density, they're not that much different from us, right? They have different themes that they're playing with. They do not correlate together with space and time like we do, but they still have certain forms of challenges that they're going through. They're still attempting to understand the universe in a brighter scope. They're still attempting to understand contrast, because contrast is important of purifying your connection to light, right? So the aspect of shadow is a great teacher. All knowledge comes from darkness. So basically, when you're taking that knowledge from darkness and you're refining it and you're disciplining it and you're making it into something that is the true you, now it becomes light, right? Well, that's what, again, a lot of these beings are doing. But really, the most advanced beings within all of the universe is us, right? Human beings. We are the most advanced because we dive the deepest into contrast more than any other race in existence. That's how powerful we are. So again, these ancient masters that have been dedicating their life for decades upon decades of just basically being in stasis and no longer relating to their body. Their body is not touching them in any way. This physical reality is not touching them in any way. They are the formless. They become formless. And again, they're in stasis. And it's like you're just talking to someone who is just, you may feel that they may actually be stupid in certain ways, right? They're so empty, right? They don't talk. They preserve their chi, right? That's what a lot of people, a lot of ancient masters will do, is they'll take vows of silence, right? And they won't even talk. And they'll just sit there and they'll just be in this beautiful, blissful state. And it's like they connect back into the God source, right? They connect back into the infinite. And all they feel is the infinite, but they can't feel that through the body, right? They have to feel that as their essence, and that's where they are. Their body's just behind as an anchor. It's like just putting a brick on a balloon, and now just seeing the balloon go up, and now they cut the cord, and now there's just an etheric string that's attached to that brick. That's the anchor, right? That's really where they are. So it is absolutely possible to be egoless, but it is not having any type of relationship to this physical body, to this physical reality, to this environment whatsoever. The reality body is completely transcended, okay? And a very few masters have been able to do that, okay? Lao Tzu would be one of them, okay? So, very good point, Norman. Thank you. I get glimpses of this God self-realization, true oneness. Any advice on practices to maintain this state, says Jairus, I believe the name is. Any advice on practices to maintain this state? Well, it's kind of just like what I was saying, right? Is they connect to the infinite, right? They are the infinite. They are the absolute. It's complete stillness in mind. If you were to basically take a camera inside their head, there's nothing there. It's void, right? And that's basically where they are. They're in void, they're in slumber, but they're in complete and total peace. It's the dying undead in that way, not like a zombie, but it's like the idea that they have completely allowed every physical aspect of themselves to die, but in a way of peaceful transition. And where they are now is void. Where they are now is stillness. Where they are now is being, non-beingness, right? So there's beingness, and then there's non-beingness. Being to where there's completely no action, no stimulation, no ripple, nothing. It is non-beingness, right? It's just coming to that point where they come between those two hemispheres. And like I said, I want to say this very, very carefully, okay? Because people look at this, oh, Brad, are you sure that this is exactly how we got to do it? Yeah, it's exactly how we got to do it. If you're going to exist in modern society, you will never be able to experience that state of what the masters do. It's just not possible, right? You need to go into nature. You need to go back into the womb. You need to go back to where there is literally nobody and be in the forest and be in nature and connect with nature in the grandest way, because nature is all about the grand aspect example of stillness, okay? I've had people get pissed at me because I've said that, right? But that's just the case it is, right? You cannot exist in a modern world and expect yourself to feel that you're going to experience what the masters experience. It's not possible at all, right? You have to go to the connection of going into the rainforest, going into the jungles, going into nature, being away from the aspect of modern civilization, and retreat yourself into a full disengagement of everything that you would consider to be the modern world. And you need to completely surrender, right? They teach us a lot, again, in ancient mastery schools. Ancient mystics teach us a lot. They would basically say that there's the aspirant, and then there's the worldly people. And the worldly people are all about concern. They're all about governing the aspect of physical reality. They're stimulating the waters. And the spiritual aspirant has nothing to do with that at all. They completely exist. They will meditate day after day, almost like 24/7, right? They'll fall asleep in meditation. They'll wake up in meditation. And they'll do this for about 5 or 6 years before they can even think of going into the modern world, right? That's how long it takes. It's primarily giving yourself so much meditation time that you have to just be in that being all the time, right? Even I couldn't imagine that, right? This is something that I'm just discovering from a lot of other masters themselves, and Phonodronis has been sharing as well too, is that they are completely in stasis, right? And when you're in stasis, you're just completely one with nature. You're just one with everything. You're not concerned about the affairs of the world. You leave relationships behind, right? Your family, you leave them behind. Your friends, you leave them behind. Your children, you leave them behind. You leave everything behind. And some people say, oh my God, bro, that's pretty harsh. Is that true? Well, that's exactly what happens here, is being able to leave every trace of what you feel is the chaotic factor to modern civilization. You leave it completely behind. And all there is stillness. And you dedicate yourself to this stasis of meditation, and you basically enter this state of samadhi, right? And you're just in this enlightening state. You're in deep focus. You're in deep centering, right? You're just focusing on a particular point. You're focusing on your breath, and then you basically just don't even focus on anything. You're in complete stasis, right? That's what these wise mystics have been teaching, and they have not interacted with modern society. It's basically the teachers that we have coming on the internet or even just doing tours. These are the teachers that have volunteered themselves not to do that, not to go into stasis, right? They are basically the ones that are teaching the way, and they are planting the seeds. But really the true teachers that have decided to go into stasis will never be on an interview. They'll never be on a talk show. They will not even interact with you at all. They will completely be within the wilderness. They will be in their own stasis, and they will remain that way, right? So there are those of us that come out of the choice of being in stasis and coming here and planting seeds and saying this is something we're going to leave behind. Or they may have the guidance to come out of stasis and basically go into the modern world, plant some seeds, and then go back. And then you never hear from them again because they basically retreat into an area that you can't even relate to, that you can't even just fathom about where they go. But again, it's complete and total stillness. So to basically go through this, my whole idea is that I bring a fine balance. I am a modern guy, right? And I can't deny that. And basically what I'm doing is I'm doing what I can to bring the modern world and the natural world together. And you have a natural modern world in that way, right? You have the best of both worlds together. But that's only going to take you so far too, right? I know I'm only going to go so far in this life. And some people say, oh, Brad, come on, you can go further and further. No, guys, I can't. There's a certain level that I'm going to reach. I'm almost 39 years old. I was not raised into the aspect of meditation. I was not raised into a lot of the spiritual aspect. I thought all of this stuff was complete and total BS when I was 29 years old, right? And now here I am, almost 10 years later, and I realize this is the most beautiful thing in my entire life. But I am not going to reach that point of stasis in this life. I just know that, right? But I will do what I can to bring both bridges of worlds together, to do what I can to meet the middle ground. And that's all my intention is, not because I want to, not because I need to, but because that's what I know my natural path is, right? That's what I look to do with New Earth Academy and everything else of that nature, right? So anyways, that's my own sharing on that. So we're going to take one more question, guys, and we're going to wrap up here. I've been blabbing quite a bit today. Wasting so much chi. Oh my God. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit more to see if there's anybody here who hasn't asked a question yet. Okay, here's one from Kurt Smith. I know you experimented with fasting. Care to comment on fasting? What about the pranic state? Because some call it breatharianism. I imagine this is our natural transition. It can be, yeah. But again, it's not about technique. And this is what people misunderstand. I could care less what kind of technique you have, right? It's about the essence, about what it does to you, right? It's the essence itself that matters. The technique is secondary, right? So if you're basically saying, I can go into this state of being, and to complement that state of being, maybe I'll go into a liquid diet, maybe I'll fast myself, maybe I'll go into breatharianism, right? I attempted to do that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do breatharianism. I did a liquid diet for a few days, and just body was saying, no, can't do this, right? Not into the way the current state of my body is. And so I realized that wasn't within me, and so I just went back into my usual kind of flexitarian diet, right? But basically the whole idea is that you want essence to guide you in complement. Some people think that there's some type of magical technique. Guys, there's no such thing at all, right? It's your essence. It's who you are that complements the aspect of the technique. It is not the technique that complements the essence, right? It's like putting the cart before the horse. It doesn't matter. I don't care what kind of technique you've discovered. If you know that that's not in complement in yourself, it's not going to work, right? You can spend days, weeks, months, years trying to make this technique work when you know that's not for you. Because again, you're thinking so much of technique. You're thinking so much of diet. You're thinking so much about being this type of meditator or, doing this type of exercise, whatever it is. That doesn't matter, right? If it complements the essence, then go ahead and do it. But again, this is the Western mind. The Western mind is all about technique. It's all about the idea of trying to find this magical method, this big formula that'll take us into the heightening of our grandest states of enlightenment. No, it won't. Ever. Your aspect of essence is going to take you into the complement of techniques. Simply because essence comes first. How you feel about yourself. Not saying that I need to go on a ketogenic diet or I need to become a breatharian and I need. Listen to what the ego's telling you, right? This is exactly what I've been dealing with, right? You need to do this, you need to do that, and that's going to help you become more enlightened. No, it's not. It's a bunch of BS, right? And again, I don't say that in a harsh way, but BS that represents belief systems, right? And again, that's just the Western mind. That's the Western model. It's So we want to put some type of mechanism, we want to put some type of technique and some type of method forward and thinking this is going to get me to the promised land. It won't. It'll take you only up to a certain point, and then you'll stop because everything within your being is resisting and saying, this is not your path. This is not who you are, right? Just because someone wants to be a breatharianism, right? It'd be cool, right? We're just living off breath. Not everybody can do that. In fact, a very, very scarce amount of people on the planet can actually do that. This is why it's saying it's not for everybody, right? For those who are feeling that they've reached a state of beautiful essence, energy alignment with themselves, and they say, yes, breatharianism would be a great complement to where I am right now. Excellent. Go for it, right? And if I'm moving more into the pranic state, and this feels really great for me, go for it, right? But if you're feeling you're going right into the pranic state and say, no, there's just too much clutter in my mind. I got to deal with this first. Good. You realize that. Shadows being your teacher. Don't be afraid of your shadows. Listen to what your shadows are saying. Put behind technique and listen within. That's your greatest teacher. It's not about technique. That is secondary to what your natural essence is. Okay, so that's my take on it. Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. So thank you so much for being a part of tonight's broadcast. So I will be back, I believe I will be back next week. I'm going to be moving to Salt Spring Island here on Sunday. So I'll be getting things together. And I should have a broadcast next Tuesday. If not, I'll let everybody know. But I think it should be okay to do that. So again, I'll be showing the beautiful nature of my surroundings. It'll be really, really amazing. So thank you again, everybody, for being part of this webcast. Feel free to check out newearthteachings.com. Enjoy the private sessions while they're there. They're going to be there again for another 3 months or so, and then they're going to be wrapped up. Okay, so thank you again. Take care. Blessings to you all, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Namaste.